Our next step is to combine our instructions, the looping component, and name, age, and payment method code. To begin, go to the instructions component, tap F5, and call it base01 MMF version 1. Please use the small triangle to the left of your functions to collapse them so that you can easily see which functions you already have. I'm going to close that instructions code because I don't need it anymore. Our next step is to add the looping component into the base. Please right-click on the looping component and choose to split to the right. Then on the left-hand side, we can close the copy of the looping component. We can then carefully go from top to bottom in our looping component and take across the code that we need. I'm going to scroll down in my base, and at the start of the main routine, I need to copy the ticket number code and paste it in under the main routine. We can then scroll down, carefully reading what our code does. We've got our heading. We ask the user if they want to see instructions and display them if they say yes. Instead of printing the program continues, we can go to our looping component and copy the entire while loop and paste it in at the bottom of our MMF code. I can then close down that looping component. And the next thing I want to do is inside the loop, rather than just getting the name, I'm wanting to get the name, the age, and the payment method. Once again, I'm going to split that code to the right. I'm going to go all the way to the top of my base component, and I'm going to compare it with my name and age. One thing that's immediately obvious is that I don't have the integer checker function, so I'm going to go ahead and copy it. And I like to put things in the order that they're going to be called. So we start with our heading, we then ask a yes/no question, and maybe display the instructions. Then we ask for the person's name, and we ask for their age. That integer checker is actually used to check the age, which means what I'm wanting to do is put my not black function slightly above it. In PyCharm, if you do notice those underlines, a reminder that you can mouse over and reformat the file, which will remove those PEP8 errors and make it easy for your code to be read. I can then go down, and in my main routine, I need to initialize my payment answers. I'm going to do that under where I initialize my number of tickets. Inside my loop, instead of asking for the name using an input statement, I can copy the name code and replace it. We do want to break if we have our exit code. And after we've broken, we can then go ahead and get the rest of the code, which asks for the age and payment method. I'm going to put that just before we add 1 to the number of tickets sold. Our next step is going to be to test this code and see if it works. And as I start to follow my test plan, it looks pretty good in that it does what it should, only it's a little bit cramped. And I've noticed that if I have an error message for the name, it looks good. But in all other cases, it's too close together. One way to fix this is to try and put a print statement before we ask the user for their name. Another small issue is that when they're too young, it says A is too young. But in our actual program, we want to change that so it says, sorry, you're too young for this movie. And if they're too old, it asks them if they've made a typo. A quick way to make sure that your testing is consistent with your test plan is to go into your test plan and copy the error message and paste it into the correct part of your base component. And now when I follow my test plan exactly, I can confirm that this works as expected for my first test plan, where I sell 2 out of 5 tickets. It also works correctly if I sell all the tickets, although I have noticed a slight typo in my final print statement. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and calculate the ticket cost using the age and payment method.